Well, let's just give everybody a few minutes to get in here and enjoy the chat because there's some issues I would like to talk about, and I don't care what YT wants or thinks. And I hear it being talked all over YT, so there shouldn't be any problems with me talking about these issues. Now, I welcome all the trolls and everybody else. You're more than welcome to join in on this conversation because it's going to be probably rub you the wrong way, which is the purpose of this, because I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm trying to get you to learn how to think. Hey, how you doing, Chiche? Chiche, I don't expect you to understand anything that I'm talking about, but you can listen in and learn something. This is very important stuff. I have to go start with a little bit of history, and I hope people can go back and enjoy and watch this if they give it a chance. My grandfather, both of them, fought in World War II. One fought in the Pacific Theater, the other one fought in the European theater. My father's father fought in the European theater and was part of the 82nd Airborne that went in and helped liberate Germany and met up with Russians. I remember hearing him tell me this story while I was sitting on his knee. He was smoking a pipe, and he told me, Junior, Sean, I got mistaken for my son there. That's why I call my son Junior. He's like, Sean, don't believe what you're being told about a certain people because most likely it's a lie. And here was the message that he was trying to send to me. When he met up with a few Russian people, soldiers there in Berlin, they were happy that the war is over because the only thing you saw when the European theater war was over was people in Times Square, New York, in the streets and confetti flying and everything. They didn't show you what took place in Berlin. There's a reason for that. Because if you were to seen that and witnessed it, you would have been like, what? Because that was the question of a lot of soldiers that were over there that made friends with those Russian allies during the war. They made friends with them. They cracked open a bottle of vodka and they all drank it together. That's how I learned that before I even went to Russia, is when you open a bottle in Russia, they drink it. They don't pour a drink and then put the lid on and put it on the shelf. You'll never see that in Russia. No, when they open a bottle, they drink it. That's why be very careful opening a bottle, whatever that is. And he made friends with these men. But after they all got shipped home, they lost contact, and there was no such thing as the internet then except for letters. And then shortly after the war, when we defeated the Japanese, shortly thereafter, the Cold War started. And for some ungodly reason, Russia was our enemy, which was our ally in World War II. And let's get things straight. Look at the casualties. You can Google this and look at it. We only lost under 500,000 people, men, during that war. That's including Pearl Harbor and all that. Now, let's look at how many casualties that is number one. They lost the most people in that war, which was the Russians. It was somewhere between 27 and 29 million people that died in that war. And if you Russians to give the pressure that they did in the East, we would have never made it off of Normandy. Our men would have got slaughtered. So this idea that Americans won the war, um, it's not a lie, but it's not truthful either. It's only telling and I get no, Russia won that, and yet they lost so much. I'm in and out of signal here. This, what you're looking at, the river to my right, is the Columbian River that leads out to the Pacific Ocean. This is the state of Oregon that I'm driving in, and the land on the other side of the water, that's Washington State. I'm riding along the border of Oregon and Washington heading towards Portland. Now, I may be in and out of signal and everything, but I got to tell you people about the Ukrainian thing, and I am going to talk about it, okay? Those who just go by everything that the media wants you to know are telling you what they want you to think. They're not teaching you how to think. Well, this goes to my countrymen here in America. How far is your attention span? You know, is it only like the past 6 months, a month maybe? Well, the attention span's not very long here in America. They have selective amnesia for some. Well, I don't. There was a lot of things going on back in 2014 that a lot of people didn't really care or give it a first thought. Well, yeah, we had an administration that was doing private business deals, whether it be good or bad, with Ukraine. Yes. Well, one thing that we did do is we caused a coup. We removed the duly elected minister of Ukraine that was elected by the people. We removed him and put in Zelensky that they have right now. And to add insult to injury, this Zelensky, yeah, he's a comedian. That shit right there should have told everybody something. Now, this is not including all Ukrainian people, but this is what caused this issue that we're living through. Is there are people that lived in what they call the separatist areas on the eastern side of Ukraine, the Donbass, and there's two other territories. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of those territories, but they were all part of the Russian culture when it used to be the Soviet Union. It never changed. They spoke Russian. Their culture matched that of Russia, even though they were Ukrainian. Well, the Ukrainians on the west side of the country and was in charge wanted these people to stop speaking Russian and shed the Russian culture. Well, how would you feel if, you know, people from your country that lived on one side of it came to your side and said, we don't want you speaking your language anymore and we want to change your culture? Are you going to be willing to do that? Just to appease them, even though you live in the same country? No, a lot of people would not go along with that. Well, there was a battalion in the Ukrainian army called the Azov Battalion, which was a group of neo-Nazis who didn't like those people, and because of their unwillingness to change, if you were to probably dig on YouTube, you could probably find the videos of it. And Putin, when he was president, then he wasn't, and then now he's president again. He said, what do I got to do to tell you people? He was talking about this, you know, back in 2010, you know, long before all this crap was happening, you know, the crap that's happening now. That Azov Battalion is bombing the shit out of these people. There's no war. There's no conflict. They're just systematically dropping a bomb on a building, killing women and children. But see, you weren't told about this because the news won't tell you that. And it was continuing and continuing. And not only that, on top of that, we had the Minsk Agreement 1 and 2 that we've made a joke of and lied to the Russians. And because we got what we want going on now, See, those states along the Russian border were not supposed to be a part of NATO. That was the agreement back in '89 that we would not go 1 inch east of Germany. And plus, when the Soviet Union collapsed, there was no need for NATO anymore. But there was too much money to be made for the United Defense and what we call the military-industrial complex. Well, we went back on that too. See, it was us that went back on our treaties and our word with the Russians. It wasn't the Russians that did this. They're not the aggressive ones. We're the ones that are causing the conflict everywhere, all over the freaking world, or trying to pick a fight. Now, personally, me, I don't agree with it. I'm like, can we bring our people home? And let's not get involved in this Ukrainian thing. We shouldn't have been involved in it in the first place. If United Defense wants to make profit, they're going to have to deal with us. And you wonder why the people we fight end up with the same arms that we're fighting them with. No one ever asks that question or pays attention. This is all about poor and middle-class working people killing each other at the behest of the so few at the top. That's all this is all about. And it's about money. But back to the Ukraine thing. Putin was warning of this. Stop. And he had enough. So during the Olympics, he met with Xi to get his blessing. And so he moved in. In the end, what this is going to happen is a lot of people are going to die. A lot of people. Ukrainians mostly, but Russia. But we're being told over here that Russia's getting their butts kicked. No, it's the other way around. So the only way to solve this issue, China is trying to make peace. We're trying to make war. And we're trying to make China out to be the bad guy? No, China doesn't bring, tanks and guns and bombs and everything else to other countries to do business with. No, they make business deals. They like, hey, let us build you a port. Let's, pave you some roads, make you some warehousing. Let's do business. Sound like the Chinese are pretty nice people in a way, wouldn't you think? How do America handle it? Oh, let's bring in our military and tanks, bullets, and guns and bombs. Just think about that for a moment. Now people think, oh, he hates America. No, I'm critical of my country because this is not who we are or who we're supposed to be. And I don't agree with it. And I'm disgusted. What's going to end up happening to Ukraine, it's going to get busted up like they did Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia. Because you got the Czech Republic and you got Slovakia. And Yugoslavia, which don't exist anymore, you got Serbia and all those other countries. They busted it all up. They're going to do the same thing to Ukraine. The Donbass and the other two territories in the east are going to remove itself, and Ukraine is going to be half the size of what it is today. It's the only way to solve this issue. And this issue is just totally stupid. In the past 15 years, our government has been wanting to go back to the way things used to be. No, let's not do that. That's bad. Do we really want another Cold War? Do you really want our children scared to death every freaking day to have to think about, I wonder if I'm going to make it alive today, or if humanity is going to survive, or is there going to be a bunch of mushroom clouds all around me that's going to kill the entire planet and destroy humanity? I mean, that's something to think about. It's time to get out of the caves and take a step forward to be better human beings, to strive to be better, instead of being warmongers all the time, wanting to fight. They would, demonize the Russians again. And we're like, wait a minute, the Soviet Union doesn't exist. It hasn't since 1989. Now, the ones that are in here in the chat weren't alive then, probably. But I remember it. In '89, I was a senior in high school. And I had a foreign exchange student from Germany named Florian Roll. And the kid was in tears when he got the news. He was over here that his country just got reunified. There's no longer no more East and West Germany. There's Germany now. I was happy for him. I really was. Because, don't get me started on the Germany thing, because there's a lot of things that happened to that country that were totally wrong, but it was done on purpose. But to continue on, what happened yesterday in a small town in Minnesota, there was another train derailment. Isn't that a surprise? I'll guarantee you, whoever is it that's in the chat still, I'll guarantee you within the next 3 to 4 days, there will be another train derailment. Whether you hear about it or not, I don't know, but there'll be another one. It's kind of funny that this sort of thing didn't go on. Like maybe once every 10 years, you heard about a train derailment. Once every 10 years. It's very rare that it would ever happen. But it's a unionized job, meaning that these people have a labor union protecting them. And they negotiate every 4 to 8 years, whatever their contract states. Well, their contract was up. They wanted to go on strike because of what the workers wanted. But our government stepped in and said, no, you can't. They systematically, illegally took away their right to strike. That's why I don't have faith in my government. But no matter what side you're on, I have no faith in either one of those two political parties, because they don't care about the working class and the majority of people in the states. They're there to get your vote, and that's it. They don't care. Me, I've always been for the working man and the working class. Always. That's because that's the way I was raised. I don't consider that a bad thing either. But they denied them. And then all of a sudden we have all these train derailments. Well, somebody who actually look at that would think, well, maybe I'm going to go by what happened in history when it comes to labor movements. You can go all the way back to ancient Egypt, when they took their wooden shoes and threw them in the machines to stop them. It was called sabotage. The wooden shoes were called sabot. Yeah, that's what happens. It only takes someone with half a brain to figure that one out. But the news is going to tell you what they want you to know and to think. They don't want you to know how to think. Just like in our schools here in the States, you were told what to think, not how to think. It took the right college professor later in my life to teach me that lesson, because he taught us how to think and not what to think. You read the book, whatever that book was, you read it, and then you came back and you discussed it with him. He'll give you his take on it, and then he'll ask you, well, what do you think? And usually what professor said made a lot of sense. And it would be kind of tough to make a counter argument the way he stated it. And the man to be teaching for 50 years, I think he knows what he's doing. And then you get angry. I got angry because there are things that I should have been taught that would have been very valuable to every individual that was being taught this. Their lives would have been a little different. Maybe better, but would have been different. And their way of thinking would have been that of a mindless robot. That we tell you, we won't lie to you, just like every other failed government in the world. Same thing. Your government won't lie to you. We won't mislead you. Bullshit. They're going to do that so you'll be under control, pacified. Just like our economic system that we have right now. You were taught that this is the end. Existed, and the free market existed before capitalism. Slaves were traded on the free market. So what does that tell you? I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm going to have to end this because the signal here is just not cooperating. I had to rant a little bit, pass along a little information. Hopefully, y'all can learn something. And to those who watch this later, if they dare to do so, hey, if you have any questions or any comments, don't be afraid to leave one. I'll respond to it maybe if it makes sense. Or I'll respond to your question and get you to reword it and think about it for a minute and ask it better. And you guys have a good day. I hope you enjoyed this little miniature ride with me on Interstate 84. Y'all have a good day. Talk to you later.